Hey there, Chad here. Thanks for joining me today, and this is Ostranauts. Ostranauts is a space-based game. I think the dev refers to it as like a spaceship life simulator game or something similar to that. But basically, we're going to play as a salvager, someone who goes out and finds wrecks and scrapes from them what we can to improve our own ship and to make some money and to basically build bigger. The game has been around for quite a while. It's been in early access for a long time. And there are tutorials out there for the game, but a lot of them are as much as 3 years old. The current build for Ostranauts is build 13 or 0.13. This is an extremely complex game. That's what I tend to like to focus on. I like to build tutorials and teach people how to play these kinds of games. And so this is right up my alley, and I'm really looking forward to this. This particular episode is just going to be about getting started, getting your character created. After that, I'll have other videos on flying your ship and things like that. But for today, we're just going to focus on creating a character. The options in the game are very basic. It gives you the ability to set up the date how you want, frequency of autosaves and how many, audio, video, controls are all pretty standard. I did make one update on controls, maybe two. I did make two updates on controls. The first thing I did is player inventory. Use I to open your inventory. I also set the back quote, which is the key above tab and left of 1. That way I can just use my left hand on the keyboard. I don't have to be fighting over and finding the I frequently, because I do find myself using the player inventory quite regularly. The other thing I did is I changed or modified the mapping for time acceleration. This game you were going to play in fast forward quite a bit, so I used my mouse buttons 3 and 4 as opposed to the left and right bracket to increase and decrease time scale. Time runs anywhere from a quarter of a second per second to 16 seconds per second. And you will see that you will be doing a lot of that once we get into actual gameplay. But for today, we are just going to create a character. The character creation reminds me of Traveler, the Traveler universe, the RPG, because you select things that you want to do, and then there are outcomes based on those that improve skills or improve your lot in life, the money you might have, and other things like that. And we're going to see how that works here in just a minute. I want to point out one thing about going into the game. When you hit new or continue, if you have to go to saves, you hit continue here, but we're going to hit new. This screen is going to pop up and it is static. It won't go away until you click on it. I didn't realize that the first time, and I sat there for like 3 minutes waiting for it to load. I'm going to go ahead and cut away for a moment, and we'll come back once we're on the character generation screen. Okay, and here we are. This is our basic character generation. There are 2 steps to this. One thing to know is on some of these screens, your options to move forward or backward are on the side. So I can switch to the career kiosk using either one. There's basically 2 screens in the character setup. So we'll start with this one. We will eventually go over to this one, but here we are. So I'm going to create a male character, and as usual, I'm going to name him Beach Richards. And I'm going to randomize him to get a little closer to something I'd like for my character. That one might not be too bad. Let's go with him. He's pretty close. The stickers on the mirror in that is a little confusing. I think the idea is you're taking a selfie. You're in a bathroom. This is the mirror, and here's your phone. You're taking the selfie. That's the door to get out behind you, I guess. All right, it is what it is, right? So I tend to set eyes to blue where I can. I can't quite see those. I don't really love the shape of those eyes. We do have some different options. Now, one thing to note is if you choose he and him, you're going to get male or masculine features typically on your character. If you choose she, her, you'll get female. And if you choose they, them, you will get a mix of the two. It's just the way they have this set up. Let's go ahead and hit. I didn't mean to hit that, but that's what we hit. All right, we're going to try this one more time. Okay, that's what we're going to go with. Right about there. That's what we're going to go. All right, so I'm going to hit done here, and that's going to take me over to the career kiosk. And here we are. Now what this is this is how you create your character. You start with a backstory that they've given you. And in this particular backstory, I have biological parents named Dow Grimes and Kimberly Spence. That's my father, that's my mother, and you will run into them in the game. You'll see them periodically, or they'll ask you to carry out some missions for them, things like that. We have a set of attributes that are already assigned to us when we start, and right now that seems to be static. I don't see where these change at all from game to game. My net worth does change just a touch from game to game, but it's usually between $96 and $103 to start. Now what we do is we can read through this. I'm going to save you that, and we're going to hit OK and get on with it. So this is the character builder. What you do each turn is generally a year, although there are some that are more than 1 year. There are as many as 3 years. You will pick one of these things to do. And when you do that particular thing, you will usually have a choice to make. And then once you make that choice, you will be told what the results of that choice were. So the first thing I like to do, I've been playing this for a week now pretty regularly, and I see a few of the traits that I want in a character to be able to play a little more efficiently the way I'd like to. So I'm going to talk about that. You're welcome to build your character however you like. To some extent, I'm probably min-maxing here, and I don't love doing that. I will probably go in here and do a character where I strictly do skills or something like that. But for now, here's what I want to do. I want to go in to this one, which is my traits, and I want to click on feeble. It's going to cost me 2 years of time, as you can see over there, but I will no longer be feeble. Okay, so that took 2 years. I'm at 20 years old now. Now for a while, all I'm going to do is seek adventure. And what happens here is each time you do this, a random event comes up where you have to make a decision on what to do. The order of the events, so first of all, all events can happen more than once. And you can select different outcomes each time. What you select will determine skills that you are granted, money that you might make, and it is all fixed. So there's a finite number of these, there's a finite number of outcomes, and you can cycle through and do all of them. Each time you do Seek Adventure, you will gain a year in age. So that's a limiting factor. I typically want to be trying to find a ship when I'm 30 years old. There's a couple of reasons for that. Age is a factor in the game. As you get older, you're weaker. There's apparently some other things that aren't fully coded yet that are in the works for that as well. But in general, I'm going to try to stay in the low 30s for my age. So I'm going to seek adventure. And here's the first one. It's Shady Deal is the name of the issue. And basically it's going to say that, it's going to give you the issue, and here are the possible outcomes for you to do. Now, because I've done this enough, I know what these tend to do for me. I'm going to choose to instigate violence. And the reason I want to do that will become apparent here in a moment. One of the things you run into in the game is pirates. And pirates will attack you, and you have to be able to defend yourself. To be able to defend myself, I want to be skilled in armed melee and skilled in unarmed melee. So I chose instigate violence. It's not who I am normally, but from this game's perspective, it's what I want. And I also got $900 for that, by the way. So selecting instigate violence tells you what the story is there. You're welcome to read it. The other thing we get is we made an enemy. Jalen Clayton is now my enemy. He's a criminal. It says from vessel. I'm assuming that might mean like a ship. I'm not honestly sure. Maybe vessel's a station or something that's out there. Now when I hit OK, what you'll see is my net worth will update by $900. I now have $996, and I'm 21 years old. Over here is a running commentary of everything that has occurred to us to make us who we are. So here's our parents. Here's our events that we've done. So we're going to, this one right here, Career Continued Shipbreaker, this is when I said work on traits, and that took 2 years. So we're going to do that again. This one is the daily grind. It's basically what are you going to do with your time. And for the first time I get this one, I select get a second job as an electrician. And the reason I do that is I want to have skill in electrical engineering. I also get $200, but the skill in electrical engineering is important to me for how the game works. We're going to seek adventure again. We're going to do this probably 6 or 7 more times. Now there's one event, there's two events that are going to eventually come up that I absolutely want to take, and I advise taking them. This one, for the first time we get it, I'm going to select Bluff. And what Bluff does is it gives me the ability to forge. I don't know how important that is, but more importantly, it gives me $500. Also skill in acting. I'm not quite sure why that might be important. Once again, here's one of the two that I really strongly suggest you take in this order. When you get rare salvage, the proper thing to do, in my mind, is to smuggle it through the black market. The reason this is important is it gives you access to the black market. Otherwise, you have to interact with the person is called the fixer. They will have a different name every time you play, but the position is called the fixer. The fixer is the person who runs the black market, who you can sell goods to on the black market. I'm going to select smuggle through the black market. It will give me contacts that allow me to work with the fixer, and I'm rewarded by $200. Now, one other factor is I want to have at least $5,000 here before I quit, and there's a couple of reasons for that in game. The primary one being to be able to legally salvage ships, you have to buy a license every day, and that license costs $5,000 a day to purchase. I want to make sure that I can do that if I need to. Otherwise, you can get some really nice stuff, and either the authorities will stop you and charge you a fine that is more than what you would be making, or you can't sell it unless you can take it to the black market, which is a possibility now that we've selected that. But ultimately, I want to be able to buy a license if I need to. So let's go ahead and continue. The other one I want to see has not come up yet, and I usually like it very early for a couple of reasons. So we're going to do cut a hole in the crate. That's going to get us $700, but we also got burned. Now, again, I don't know what impact some of these have on you. This doesn't seem to have an impact, but we'll see as we go forward. Seeking adventure. This is the other one that I think is really important to get in this particular order. And for occupational hazard, there's two that I like to take, Hack Engine and Troubleshoot Engine. But Hack Engine tends to be the better of the two because it gives you hacking, which is very important. You definitely don't want to leave character generation without hacking. It also gives you the genius trait, and the genius trait impacts how fast you can do some work in certain areas. That seems to be pretty important. Okay, so we're going to say, okay, now I've gotten all the things I really want to get. Now it comes down to getting enough money to where I'm ready and comfortable to continue. So seek adventure. Okay, now we've already had this one once. If I do the risk to join the scheme, I can get a big payout here. I can also end up going to jail for a while. I'm going to skip that one for now. I'm not going to instigate violence again because I already have those skills. So this time I'm going to select, I think if I do report to the company, I don't get anything for that. I'm going to select backstab them. And I'm going to get an enemy, but I get another $900. So I'm going to take that. And seek adventure again. This is a good one. I don't know if we did this. This might be the first time this came up. You want to have hacking before this one comes up. And it can come up more than once. If you don't have hacking when it comes up, I usually select get them drunk. You can also pick their pipe. Well, you can do any of them. But this is the one I tend to select. It gets you like $800. But once you have hacking, this one is great to take because it gets you a ton of money. Gives you the ability of being skilled in software engineering. That's important. Now I don't have to go and get that skill. And like a ton of money. Yeah, so I'm going to have over $6,000 now. I'm ready to go, and I'm only 28 years old. So we talked about working on traits. That's where I picked feeble to shore up feeble. We haven't talked about working on skills. We did seek adventure. So I'm going to hit working on skills this time. Here are the skills that you can improve. And as you can tell, I'm hoping you can tell, some of these are a little darker than the others. That means I can't access those on the screen. In fact, if I click on it, nothing happens. The other ones are important. So the number of dots on the screen here tells you how many years it's going to cost to do any particular one of these. The ones I'm most interested in right now would be EVA suits, construction, mechanical engineering, robotics, maybe civil engineering, persuasion. I'm thinking on that one, but I might prefer to take combat engineering is good as well. But as you can see, these are all 3s, and I'm not sure I want to spend 3 on that. Construction is something you're going to do a lot of. Civil engineering is the ability to design and build things maintaining a natural and artificial infrastructure. So I think that's important as well, based on how the game plays. And EVA suits is very important because it removes a negative modifier when you're wearing your suit. I think for this time I'm going to pick construction. Now I just aged 3 years, and that's okay. Like I said, I usually want to be done when I'm 30. I'm going to be a little older than that this time. I'm going to do Seek Adventure one more time. Let's see what comes up. Okay, so I haven't taken EVA suits yet. This one here, if I take suit maintenance, it's going to give me that. If I choose go ship spotting, it's going to give me the ability to use sensors better. So far, I think suit maintenance is more important than those two. So I'm going to take suit maintenance. You'll notice I don't get any kind of money, but I do get skilled in EVA suits, which is important, and skilled in physics. So we're going to take that. Now, I never use save some money, and I typically haven't done that. I think you get about $750 if you take that one. That might be a way to go. You just keep selecting that. I think you could also just keep selecting work skills, or you could keep selecting traits and improve your character. I tend to like Seek Adventure. It's a little bit random, but it gives me skills that I want, and it allows me to make money at the same time. It only costs a year each time. At this point, we're going, one other thing. There's one adventure where it's about a card game where you could win a ship. When I get that one, I select Fold. Fold will give you, I think, $800 or $900, and it is the best of the outcomes. One of the options is to steal the ship, and you can certainly do that. And if you want to play as a criminal, maybe that's the way to go, but your ship is basically listed as stolen, and you interact with the authorities, it becomes a problem. And you do interact with authorities more often than you might think in the game. So I tend to take the money and run, not the ship, and run. But now we're going to try to get a ship. Now there are several starter ships, and this one we only have to pay $260 per shift. You have 4 shifts per day. This is a very affordable ship, but it has almost no space. There's very little you can do with this one in my mind. So I'm going to continue career. Now the problem is that's going to age me a year. I'm now 33 and I'm still looking for a ship. This is one of the better options for a ship early on. I think I might go ahead and take this one. Otherwise I'm going to be aging for a while. There's this particular one, and there's one that's like a tug that's kind of a sideways model. It's more of a rectangle side to side. I guess that would be like landscape. I like that one as well. It has a lot of space to move stuff. This one doesn't have quite so much space, but we can build it out pretty quickly, and we will do that at some point. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one. Also, we can use the space up here for transporting stuff. So in this build, I'm going to go ahead and take this, and then we see that we have the ship, and now we're going to say, okay, now we have a mortgage we have to pay on the ship, and that's what we have to pay every shift. I think it was $2,300. Our salvaging will cover that pretty quickly. We don't have to worry about that too much, but we also have some reserves if we can't afford it for a while, and that will be okay too. But once we're done with that, we can finally submit our resume. You cannot submit until you have a ship. It's a very important thing to know. It will tell you you're not finished, and the reason you're not finished is you have to get a ship. That's the step here, is vessel registration. So we're going to go ahead and submit, and here we are. The game is about to start. That is character generation. The game will start in this spot no matter how you build your character, and my next video we will go through what to do when you start here. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm probably going to rebuild the character and do a couple of things a little differently because the random number generator didn't give me the adventures that I kind of wanted to see. There were a couple that were missing, and I'd like to maybe have a character that has one of the other skills that is an opportunity there. And I'm going to go ahead and rebuild the character here, maybe make him look a little more like what I normally like to make my character look like. So when we come back to the next video, he might look a little different, and that's why, and we might have a little bit different skills. Next video will be about how to move around in the base, what you need to do to get started, and we will undock our ship and find a wreck. either in that video or maybe the next one and learn how to fly the ship a little bit. Hope you're enjoying this. Ostranauts is a fantastic game. I highly recommend it. Hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching. Until next time, fair travels.